Hi, it's Courtney Tampone. I'm doing Chapter 2, pages 58 through 64. The chapter is titled Learning and Adaptation. So Section 3 begins with talking about fight or flight, which is part of the autonomic nervous system, and how the body learns how to respond to specific stimuli when they're in danger. So this diagram here explains a couple physiologic functions that help protect the human when they sense danger. So a couple examples include increased blood pressure, and increased release of endorphins, which serve as opioids, which may decrease sensitivity to pain. An example that the textbook provides for a different type of species is rodents. Rodents freeze when they encounter their natural predators, and the reasoning behind this is that those who prey off of rodents tend to respond to movement. So by slowing down, this decreases their likelihood to be noticed and is a protective mechanism. It also talks about conditioning with drugs as outcomes. So drugs are powerful reinforcers for conditioning. So the body learns that certain drugs produces certain responses within the body that may be pleasurable. So they talk about the conditioned compensatory response. So in conditioning, a conditional response opposes on the unconditional response, creating an opposite effect to maintain body equilibrium. So this, an example of this may be drug tolerance. So every time a drug is taken, it'll be more associated with environmental cues. And if the cues are compensatory, the drug will have a weaker effect. And this was proven by Shepard Siegel, who's a Canadian psychologist. So he did this with rats and morphine injections. So what he did is he put them in two different rooms in two different series of the procedure. So what he did is he put them on hot plates that weren't painful but uncomfortable for the rats. And what he did was he wanted to see the analgesic effects before and after the development of tolerance of the morphine. So the results was that tolerance was present as long as the morphine is tested in the presence of the room where cues are associated with that drug. So if they changed the environment when administering the drug, it had a different effect, a weaker effect, as it would if it was presented in a similar way as the beginning. So tolerance goes away when those cues are no longer present. Drugs could also have a paradoxical effect. So sometimes, morphine specifically has the intention of decreasing sensitivity to pain, but it may have a paradoxical effect of increasing it, which he saw in his test here. So it's interesting to see how learning is definitely a compensatory response and is adaptive as well. So, of course, drug abusers is actually a type of learning as well. So they adapt to learn, and they learn how the drug affects their body, especially when they develop a tolerance. So they know how much to take to overcome their tolerance. They become adapted to this type of thing. So they recognize their symptoms of withdrawal of a drug, and they take that drug to relieve those symptoms. So that is another type of learning. Then we also have sign tracking and stimulus learning. So sign tracking, I'll define for you here. It says it on the slide. It's when a signal predicts a positive outcome, animals often approach the signal, and when they predict a negative outcome, animals tend to withdraw from them. Then negative sign tracking is what an association of a signal makes the animal withdraw or reject the outcome. So an example of that is taste aversion. If you don't like something, the taste of something, you're going to avoid it. Then if the signal presents a decrease in probability of a bad outcome, surprisingly, animals will approach it. And an example of that is the medicine effect. So this diagram here explains it. If you follow the tops, you can see how this theory works. And this was developed by Pavlov. All right, well, thank you for listening. I hope you have a good day.